Good morning. Happy Friday, guys. I almost said happy Monday because I'm an idiot. Hopefully you guys are all having a good day. Yesterday was very fun, very interesting. Hopefully you guys liked the thumbnail. Believe it or not, I put like 15 minutes of effort into those. So it was this one was very, very fun for me. But, you know, all jokes aside, the pump, we've been talking about this pump for XRP to these targets for 8 months. This is a very high time frame pattern. And actually, I think that's what we are going to start with is XRP. So we're not going to start with Bitcoin for once. I know Max probably hates that because he's not going to have much to say as he didn't yesterday on Debate Crypto, which was a really good episode. That thing got a lot of views. Everybody loved Max and his accent and the fact that he just didn't care about XRP at all. It was good, though. It's good to get Max out of the closet for once and get his his professional debut. Before you guys know it, we'll have him on Twitter. He'll have a Twitter account here soon. Even if he doesn't want to run it, I'll run it for him. So, and good morning, Redman. He says, woohoo, XRP Army. Haven't seen you in a minute, man, but I know you're excited. So we'll go ahead and share the chart and talk XRP, talk shop. This was the setup, right? We've been talking about this giant pattern for quite some time. As back in, I believe it was July of 21, I said that I was looking for 29 cents eventually. That's if you saw a rejection out of the macro gold pocket, which you did. You got it. I believe it was right in here. And it was somewhere in the 618 and 65, right? So just looking at it right in there, you've got that, all the closures beneath, and then you saw it do it yet again all the way down in this region of the chart right here. And you can see that you just scroll over and again, more rejections, right? Up in that like $1.35 to $1.40 region. So after you've lost that and you gave up, basically 95 cents, you're pretty much looking down to this major point of control. There was also an untapped yearly pivot down there that kind of gave us a zone between 29 and 37 cents for accumulation. That was the tweet. That's where I was looking to buy. Once executed, it was more of a patience game. And the reason being is when you look at something like this pattern, you say that XRP took, what is that? 118 bars, 826 days to complete this on the weekly chart. So this is a weekly pattern that we have pulled up. Really, really high time frame. From there, you're just targeting the B leg here, and you can see where it settled up and where the wick is. The reason you're doing that is you can see that this was a huge inflection point for price as it was breaking down. This is the shelf, so to speak. You had to hold on to this shelf and consolidate above it. Otherwise, you would be looking down into the lower ranges. So, the harmonic, all it's doing for you is identifying the key areas of inflection, in my opinion. And then, he's got an algorithm and statistics. If you go through his books, all three are available in the group. And you guys can actually access those even with the 1 week free trial. So if you go to leadingcrypto.io, 1 week free trial, all three of the harmonic trading books are available in there. So it also gets you access to all of our content as well, live streams, things like that. So check that out if you haven't. But it's just letting you know where the inflection points are going to be. And then you have what are called, common Fibonacci congruences, or, I can't remember the name of it. It starts with a C, but basically you're looking for these two to intersect at the 1618 and at least the 886. It gives a very specific reaction. In this case, this is a bat. There are other cases where it's like a shark, but you're still looking for at least an 886 and a 1618. Those specific ingredients in terms of expansions and retracements give pretty explosive moves. And in this case, you got, I don't even know what the percentage on this move is, but I'm pretty sure, 235% off the lows. So it pays to be patient. I did post my trades, I believe, back here when I took profits the first time. And then I did open up a new entry at 47.28 cents, was a key weekly low we've been talking about. And I did go ahead and open a trade based on that at 45 cents as well. Predominantly held spot in this, but I did expose some leverage from 34 cents at 1.11x, so not much. And then just 2x from up here at 45 cents, taking profits at 87, which is this B leg right here. So time-wise was very interesting. So when we look at time on this, you can see that if you were to measure the time it took to go from the low here, you know, in the COVID low to this local high up here around $1.97, it's almost an exact one-to-one. So you can see that these are the points. So it's measured from here to A. We move it over to C to, you know, see if it's going to be equivalent, and it's almost identical, which is good. You want to see the symmetry, meaning that the amount of time it took to go all the way to the high is the same amount of time it took to go to the low. Really stretching what's called, I call it the rubber band. You know, markets often take similar times to react in certain directions or get reversals because investors buying and selling really doesn't change much. Now you've got the 0.5 letting you know that you are 50%, so 150% the time. So the amount of time it took to go X to A is now extrapolated one more time. You've got the 50%, almost identifying the secondary retest low. And then this is the one-to-one. So again, right on time, it's getting the pump at the exact distribution. So this thing is operating in one-to-one cycles, which is really, really cool. It's a very neat thing to see. It looks like it would be 203 days, 29 weeks. Every 29 weeks, we've got a really interesting thing on XRP. So very neat. Where do we go from here, I guess, is the question. That's probably what everyone is thinking. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the harmonic and talk shop on XRP in terms of the high time frames. Again, these were the original targets here, the B legs up into this zone, which gives you a kind of a wide zone between 87 cents and $1.03. You know, it does start to line up really nicely as well when we zoom out a little bit and start looking at the high time frames. You know, we look at the quarterly chart, and we're going to go to this chart here in just a second for another level. You can see that you have not closed a quarterly candle above this 95.26 level here. So you can see it's marked as a 3M really since it's been on Bybit. So that's since 2019. This is a very, very important area to get back above. You live above it. And I do think that, you know, while $1.09 is here, there is a chance to rotate the gold pocket, obviously. Overall gold pocket is just from the high to low, right? We're just looking for something like this between $1.32, $1.38. But there's also an NPOC all the way up. Oh, where did I put it? Well, I didn't mark which one was the NPOC. It's $1.57. We're just going to call it what it is. And that is going to be annoying if I misplace that. I don't think I did. There it is, $1.57.76. And I believe that is from May, right? From this May candle right here. We'll go out to the 4 hour and I'll take a peek, but I'm almost positive, you know, this is where it would be from. Yeah. There you go. So this is the May range. And you can see that in May, you left this little, you know, sliver of price that you would be wanting to keep an eye on if price can flip. Basically, we'll call it $1. 95 cents is the level I'm giving, but $1 is pretty well and good in terms of what you're looking for, you know. So this is going to be a range play, you know, for mean. Can't get my fingers to work here. There we go. Why is my shift key not giving me the exact, like my hotkeys aren't working? That's annoying. So what we see here, you live above 95 cents, and this isn't perfectly straight, which is super annoying. So I am going to go ahead and delete it because that's going to bother me. And you could very well say that you're getting back inside this range right here, right? So that's what we're trying to do, is get back above this local line and turn it to a brighter color. There you go. Trying to get back into this like 95 to $1 zone. Get back above this, and I do think that there is a chance that, one, you look at these local highs, but also targeting 157. So that's the kind of the, if you're looking at this long term and you're, you know, still bullish on the price and you think that this has got more legs, you know, those are the next steps. Is, can we clear 95 cents, clear, you know, about $1.09, and then we can start looking up and stair stepping it to like that $1.30 region, and then looking up to 157. And those are just take profits for me. Now, if you were looking at this in terms of a, you know, is this a good time to short? This certainly was a good level to trade off of. There were other things in confluence with the pattern that we were playing off of that were here, showing you that, well, this could have been a very nice level to short. You know, if you're just measuring this now as an inside breakout, can we get a breakout of consolidation? This is the very top of it, showing us that if we break out of this, we could be looking for a new trend, and that new trend could lead us to some interesting targets, right? So that would be how I would be looking at that. Now, in terms of support, the big support and resistance coming into this was the Q1 low, and that was identified for you guys before we even came up and tagged it the first time back in July. We'll go back out to the weekly, and this is your Q1 low, right? So Q1 low from the 3-month chart right here, very simple, okay? Resistance, 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 breaks above it. So if for some reason we do come back to this region of the chart, like you could pretty much box this area off, and you could say that I would want to see, XRP holding on to this region of the chart should it ever retrace to it. This is just an SR flip. Very simple idea. You could extend this to the right, and you can see that historically this is a big, big area to hang on to. So if reached, need to see that holding. If you wanted to take a look at anything else, you certainly could. You could use historical data. We were using, I believe it was the 6M1, because you did have an NPOC right here, which you're trying to hang on to now. Right, so you can see that is going on right there. Very, very simple chart. Boom. And if you recall, we just had that box that was right here. Lines up very nicely. So for me, XRP needs to stay above roughly 60 to 54 cents, this little zone right here, if it's going to consolidate and move up. Now, does it have to dip to these levels? Not necessarily, but just so that you guys are aware, if it does, I would look at this as a back test and, kind of opportunistically, at least initially. So that's how I'm viewing the chart. I do still hold some of my position. I have TP'd it twice now. On my longer term bag was TP'd right here. And then again, I took like 10%, 10%, 10%. And I'm just slowly exiting that leveraged position as I do trade inverse. So I'm trading with XRP as collateral, meaning when I close that leverage position, that percentage of closure goes right back into spot XRP, and I'll take that off the table when I see fit. So is what it is there. But yeah, XRP, really big pump. Was it expected? We're never going to say we called the day or anything because nobody cares. But what I always told you guys was the setup was the long. Stop loss below the low. You're looking for that pattern to play out, and you have to really have your risk in check, because if you're wrong, obviously, this can go as low as, the COVID lows. If you're wrong in this case, this could have came all the way down to, maybe 19 cents, but it could have very easily came to 11 had this level not held. So again, you had to be using a stop loss and understand that the risk to reward was just really good on this asset. And it has been for quite some time. You had to be patient to let it play out. And that's kind of the MO for XRP and these giant pumps. When I covered this one right here, I was looking for 86 cents. I think it only hit like, what is that? 80 cents. So it didn't quite hit my target, but you look how long this took to play out. It took a very, very long time. So very similar here, where you have huge consolidation and massive move out of it. Now, what you have to be careful of is historically when that happens for XRP, it generally retraces almost the entire move. So like I said, you need to see the SR flip if that happens right here, or continuation in the short term. This would be the next area that I am interested in, though, if I'm going to be looking for any fresh positions for myself in terms of trading. And that's really it. This is a very clean chart. The high time frames on XRP trade exceptionally well. I do cover this one on Bitstamp as well for the real macro nuts out there. The Bitstamp chart on XRP is an absolute treat, actually. And I think it's on this one. Did I delete it? I don't think I deleted it ever. Maybe I did. Nonetheless, we'll do it real quick here. This is the macro chart for XRP on Bitstamp. It's just got way more data. I don't know why it wasn't showing when I pulled it up earlier. And I believe I like to look at this one in log because there's just so much information. There you go. So this is XRP just using 12-month closures in reversals. And you can see that this is a giant range. And the EQ has been basically what we're looking to see as an SR flip here, about 61 cents. Anytime you're above 61 cents, relatively good things can happen. So you do want to see price holding this level. If you hold above this level, the MO is generally you go back anywhere from as high as $1.30 on the bounce here, but you you went up to the 197 level. And I'll show you what I mean by that level for those that are wondering. This is something I covered all the way back in this region because you had the settle ups there. So you can see that you had the yearly closure here, yearly closure here. Makes our overall range, much like we just used the 3-month closures, if you recall. You can go back to the weekly now and you can see how that played out. Played out very, very well. This was a great level to get long at, great level to take profits at, and then bounce from the middle of the chart, which we talked about back here. Very similar, 100% bounce, very similar, 100% bounce before retracing back to the 29-cent target, which was just the point of control of this entire section of price. To be upfront with you guys, it's a very simple way to find it. And you move on, right? So that's it. That is XRP in a nutshell. You want to see it living above the EQ of its macro range, aka 61 to probably about 54 cents on a wick basis. And I think, you know, that would serve the, you know, the asset very well. So I don't see any questions. I see Redman loving it. Max wants to look at XRP as well and do some open interest and order flow on it. So I'm going to turn it over to him and let him do so.
Yes. So if I get my screen up, all good. Yeah. So right now, looking at this, you know, you can say that we've had, if I would deem this as a very good top. You know, you've had a volume spike, you've had, you know, not a big drop in open interest on the top. So, you know, there is that, but you've had a volume spike and, you know, you can argue that as a big wick. I am on the 1 minute. If you go to the 5 minute, you know, it's going to be a big wick wherever I am on price now. I have no idea where I am there. You know, you can see that's a big wick. And you know, typically when you get them big wicks, you know, it can be reversal signals. But anyway, let's go back and go to the actual analysis. So the way I'm looking at it right now, you've had the long was down here. On the 1 minute, you had a load of liquidity coming from these lows here, and it was SFP'd. If you wanted the trade, it was there. Right now, what I'm looking at is the fact that you've got this huge, because I'm going to say this is a range right up here. I put the regression trend on it, but you know, it's the low is the initial balance of the range. Effectively, this is a deviation, as is that. And you know, you could argue the top is the initial balance too. So you're trading the range of the initial balance. So let's go from here. We can go from here actually, and let's see how much open interest we've had increase in this area. So from where we are from the start to now, 15, 16%, let's call it, increase in open interest. It's a lot of open interest, okay? And knowing that, and knowing that we are range bound up here, okay? If we are to live below here, and you know these here, it could have been a short worthy occurrence had you not had a huge drop in open interest as you came down here, because it's clearly collected the liquidity that was here and then bounced and you know tested it. But you could have easily entered short here, stop loss above, you know, these highs here, you would have got stopped out. But if it had rejected, knowing that the open interest has increased the way it has, you've got a lot of positions long trapped above in this range. You know, you've got even more now. So if you were to see the same again, you could definitely take a trade from that. But if you're not wanting to trade that way, other areas that I'd be looking to take a trade from are, you know, up at the day high, above the initial balance. You've got a 0.5 here. Let me go to the 1 minute, because you've also got you know, more liquidity up there. So you've got this high here, which had liquidity on the 5 minute. You've got these highs and this high here. You know, it's a lot of liquidity to be found at these highs, and you know, traders at this point probably would have moved the stop loss to these highs, if not their entry. So with the 0.5 from the high being there, you know, it's a very trade-worthy SFP. Should it be given, and you can just trade the range at that point. Get in at the SFP, very tight stop loss. You know, you're not, you know, having a huge stop loss above the high where, you know, you're risking, you know, really giving back. Let's just check. 40%. Yeah, fuck that. You know, you could easily get in an SFP here, tight stop loss, and if it comes up to the gold pocket and takes this liquidity, to be honest, I would kind of forget about the gold pocket because you've got 6 million liquidity there. I'd expect that to get taken. But I wouldn't, at this point, you're probably going to take that one, but this trade is certainly a short that I'd be interested in. And yeah, here's the long liquidity, 2.7 million XRP down at these lows. So, you know, if it's to come down here and SFP it, great. You can then trade the altcoin strategy. But if it doesn't, you think of the open interest increase that you've had during this uptrend, okay? Everyone at this point would have either taken profits, one would hope, or move the stop loss to entry, potentially, which would make a very fast move down. And if they did not, as soon as they see red, they're going to close their trade because they're going to think it's going to fucking nuke. And down at that level which Magic gave, I think this is just a bit above it, you have got a ton of liquidity down there as well, because you can see that's where we had a miniature range over here. So add some favor, I guess, into the camp which Magic just went over, of coming down to that 0.6 region. But yeah, I'd certainly be looking to trade a short to there, which is different from my altcoin trading strategy. But with the move up that this has had, damn, it would be a very nice move back down to there, just to come and get it. But yeah, it looks good other than this huge wick, and I'd argue it is a good top for now, but let's see. But yeah, definitely looking for a short here, maybe a short here. And if you do lose this range, it's not going to come up here and gives us a nice back test of this support. Another nice short, and you've got a neat stop loss if it was to do it in the next few hours and not make a move up higher, because your stop loss would be above these highs here. It's very tight for the potential gains, which would be your first target would be these lows at 6% for a 2%, 3% stop loss. So you've got a 2-to-1 trade there just to come and take the current day low. Is how I'd be looking at XRP right now locally. But yeah, if you want to go on Bitcoin Magic, you crack on.
Max loves XRP. Like, he talks about it all the time. That's all he talks about. It's borderline obnoxious. But no, very good. We'll look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin's a really simple chart, guys. We've been talking about getting above this area of consolidation right here. Like, we'll go to the daily chart real quick and you'll see what I'm talking about. Really needed to get above this area, and you can see this is where you were finding rejection. And again, we were still wanting to see if maybe we could come down here and get some of these lows and trade this region of the chart again. However, price doesn't always give you what you want, and you can see that it consolidated, put in nothing but higher lows. The key was not to be shorting into these regions unless you were shorting from up here above the range, above 30,600. And then you're looking to take profits locally. And if it lets you come down to this region, it lets you. Otherwise, you got to be prepared to get stopped out and get back into Bitcoin. So if you didn't catch these longs, you're not the only one. These were definitely front running. I think at this point, you look at it and you go, man, the traditional trend line guy probably had the best entries, right? Very, very simple, strategy, but it would have worked. So from there, where do we go? You're targeting the old quarterly high, and then you have the April high right here. Okay, so your quarter 2 high is here, as you can see, at 31,475. And you have the previous week high above that at 31,542. So you have this like zone you had to be monitoring, especially for an SFP. And you can see on the daily, it certainly gave that to you on the weekly, giving you a back test of what? Well, the old highs. And this is the only zone I really was paying attention to as we came up here, because we do need to hang on to this region of the chart. If you can flip this region of the chart, we can just go blue box to blue box. So we are still waiting for price to consolidate inside here and then break this miniature range between 31,069 and 31,475. If broken to the upside, well, I'm looking for 32.3. Shout out to Max for being on that swing points of liquidity. He is all about that shit. And he certainly called the local top yesterday on stream. Ironically, he said this would actually be a good place to look for potentially a short if you wait for confirmation, and it ended up being the local high. But again, looking at the swing points of liquidity, you can see it actually had the level mapped out in advance as well, letting you know that there was 2.213K Bitcoin chilling here to be taken. And so what do you get when you get something like that? You usually get the OI drop and back to support. And now we get to play the game of, what is the trend going to do? Is the trend going to make that move and continue trending, or will we see a reversal back into the range? Personally, would not want to see a reversal back into the range. Anytime you get something like that where it becomes a fake out, I'm really not looking for it to put in a higher low here. I'm usually looking for it to rotate and take these lows. As Max has said, what does the market do? It usually Once it rinses one side, it will rinse the other side, right? So we do want to see this get continuation and not come back below about 31,069 and live there. So as of right now, this is just a back test of two major, inflection points. The quarter or the April high right here that was put in before our big sell-off, right? And then the move back up from 24/7. And then you have the Q2 high that was put in just at the end of June here on the 23rd. So really, really easy area to map off, easy levels to have. You get above 31,475. I just don't see why, you wouldn't at least attempt to make a new high and tag this area up here that we've all been kind of waiting for. And then again, that is such an important area, this low, because this is the Q1 low, just like with XRP, where we said the Q1 low is so key. You have two inflection points that gave you this zone right here. Okay, so that is the local high after we bounced from 25K, right? Which was our old resistance. The SR flips on this chart are absolutely clean. The cleanest SR flips ever. You don't even need to do any of this other fancy stuff if you just traded simple horizontals, highs and lows. So the local high of the range, the Q1 low right here, which was a great shout that we gave last year, almost calling it to the week. We had it mapped out months in advance. It was really nice. Big level to get back above. You clear this level, and to me, while I see 34 and 35K right here as potential resistance, I actually start shifting my eyes up into the 6M1 at 38,922, up to as high as I believe it's about 40K, give or take. Yeah, 39,675 would be the next box. So that would actually be the overall target for me should we flip the blue box above us. So this Q1 low gets flipped. I'm not only looking for the gap fill, I would like to see it maybe continue a little bit higher even and fulfill the 2022 range right here. You can see that would be a full rotation and fill out. And one thing you will note is it spent ample amounts of time filling in the prior year range right here where we consolidated, right? Again, right here. And, if we come up to this region, what kind of, price action are we going to see? If we extend this over, just to include everything, you can see that it is starting to build out these nodes a little bit better. And this is kind of a volume gap. Once you're above it, you're really looking to get to the highs of the range. That's what you're looking for. So, that's how I'm trading it. I'm still exposed long from 16.6. You guys are all aware of that. Those take profits are already preset. So the remainder of those positions will be taken off at, key levels. So wherever there's a box is probably an additional take profit for me, just as a heads up. So if you see a box on the screen, that's what you'd be looking for. Now, in terms of getting to a local top, you are coming into an interesting time on the SPX. You put in a massive, deep crab here for reversal. And then you are now putting in a very large symmetrical butterfly, meaning that the time it took to form the XAB is almost identical to the time it's taking to form the BCD, meaning that you've got two identical moves forming a bearish pattern essentially into monthly and weekly resistance right here. Okay, so this is an area to have on your chart and to be aware of coming into next week. And that does also bode well for our analysis on Bitcoin. So if we go to Bitcoin on this chart, I've been playing with these circles a little bit too much. I've been having fun on the side. This is the time zone we've been looking for a potential pivot. For anyone that is curious, this is your gold pocket from your overall high to low, right? You now have the 1-to-1 from your 2022 high to your 2022 low. And you will have your COVID low to all-time high also coming in right here at the 1-to-1. So it gives you a date between July 10th and July 23rd. This is a big inflection point for price. I would be looking at this with a lot of interest, especially knowing the SPX is coming into a 1-to-1 of its own on a harmonic. So a lot of volatility in this little window. Also, I'm going to be looking to see if price can get continuation of those upper targets or maybe even a reversal. So that is the key time frame for that. And if you're going super moon boy, which I don't think this would play out in this time because it's just entirely too fast to do so. But the moon boy targets on this are like so. We talked about this on stream yesterday. We've talked about it publicly, so might as well share it with everyone else. If you were to dissect price into giant ranges, which, then you have to question the validity of, is all of this information, should it be included and used for trading? But it was certainly very good on the breakdown, rejection, now coming back into this range and trying to really hold on to like this 30K zone as support, with 28.8 being the Q3 pivot, also being the .25. It's very nice, and it lines up nicely with our gap, the 382. Then you've got your 6M1 and your profile value area high here, but then you start shifting your eyes up towards the gold pocket and some of these NPOCs and untapped pivots, right? So that would be the real moon boy thing, and I don't think that that happens in 14 days. So if this is going to happen, this is going to take time. So maybe this is just the time that we are breaking into this zone, and I wouldn't say the end of the bull market is coming, but I would say that more than likely I'd start looking for a pretty sharp reversal once we get one up in this zone, because things just don't go up forever. So there is probably a correction coming, and everybody wants to try to call it. It's just one of those things where you just kind of have to trade the levels, and when it's presented, you need to be prepared and actionable. So that's really all I've got on it. Bitcoin's a simple chart at this time.
Magic, pull the gold pocket from the 2022 high to the obviously 2022 low. Would you watch that, or considering it lines up pretty neatly with the 0.382? And if you put the 0.5 on it, it's actually where we rejected from yesterday.
You could watch this. It's valid, because if you're looking at this just from a fib standpoint, right, you want to make sure that you're using the appropriate swing highs and lows. And it's very easy to see this on the weekly chart. Major swing low is right here. This is your major swing high, and that's your major swing low. These are not necessary. Oh, come on now. These are the major inflection points. These are the major fib pulls that I would use. I would use the overall high and this high. I wouldn't worry too much about this one. This one right here is not of concern. These are the only areas on the chart that I would trade in terms of gold pocket. And the fact that you do have the 382 on the overall macro, and then the local gold pocket right here at this gap in MPOC, it is an area to keep on your chart. Yeah, between $34 and call it $36,000, this little box. That's why I have it on there. I would be aware of that. Yes. I mean, that's like I said, these boxes, if there's a box on my chart, I'm locking in more profits there from my long from 16.6. I'm just closing some of that leveraged position. They're already preset. It was in my trading plan. I'm going to let my trade play out now. And it's played out really, really well. I've gotten a lock-in profits on the way up, and I'm hoping to get more. And if I don't, it's still probably my best trade this year, and I'll get stopped out and I wouldn't even care. So yeah, that's a good shout. That is a very good shout. Do you want to cover anything on Bitcoin with the OF?
Yeah, I'll take the reins for a little bit. So, looking at this locally, what can we determine about this really local uptrend? It's not that strong, especially on Binance, at least. And typically, Binance is the important one. If we go over here, it started off good on multiple exchanges, but again, it is still rather weak. So one thing that I'm looking at here is either the London high, though I'm not a big fan of it, but potentially an SFP of the London high and rejection from the 0.5. You could argue, to be honest with you, the way I'm looking at it is anything from like here to here for sure. Maybe the Asia high, but I think at that point you're probably just going to take, this high if you're going to come up there. But yeah, anything in here, it's a big box. It's not very good of me, but there's just so much here. You've got any of these levels you can very easily reject from. The Q2 high, the previous week high. Arguably we've already, one of the things that we say in the SFP video, or we've been trading SFPs from using this technique is, and this is I guess more high time frame, but once you've SFP'd a level, coming back up and back testing it, it's pretty bearish when this occurs. When you come back and back test the high which was SFP'd and then reject, it is pretty bearish. And the fact that now on this uptrend, it's simply shorts that have entered somewhere up here, probably closing out and drawing the price up. It's not a strong local move. Coming back into a level where we've had this is a pretty harsh rejection. As soon as you bounce from it, it was the gold pocket. So we have already tested the 0.5 in the gold pocket. and the gold pocket effectively was the trade this morning, or late last night for you guys. But yeah, really looking for either the London high to get swept, but any of these levels to get tapped again. And if you do see know, at that point, you are looking down to come down to the the local gold pocket, which I know we've posted in the group. I think I don't know if you mentioned it, Magic, but I don't know if you're not sure if you did. But anyway, the gold pocket from back down here. That's really where you're going to be looking if you do reject her again, because you've not really got anything here to warrant a bounce. And you have got the Dalton, which is activated on Binance. I will say the previous day point of control is much higher that I have anyway. So and statistically, maybe not on Binance, but on Bybit, it is a high hit rate just to come down and hit the previous day point of control. So if we're saying we're transferring it over, we've not done that yet, and the Dalton is activated. So typically we would come up, wreck the traders that got into the Dalton too early and didn't take profits at some rather key levels, being that April high. I mentioned that now, Magic, like it's my level. Magic mentioned that before the stream. But yeah, really looking for some shorts in here. But if you do start to reclaim some ground, arguably the previous week high, you really are looking to come and take the previous day high. So it's a risky business, I guess, taking a blind short from these regions. You really want to see a rejection, a change in local market structure. But the thing to note is that this local uptrend is weak. So knowing that, you can trade it accordingly. Some shit coins that I've got on my radar. Obviously gone over XRP. This one, ING. While everyone else is having a bit of a shit day, I guess, coming down a little bit from yesterday's rally, this has been on an absolute tear. Open interest has been so bullish for quite some time. Zooming out, really strong uptrend, really no signs of a reversal, and we've just rejected from arguably already the day high. So definitely you would think that's getting taken at some point. Areas where we can get in, well, if you're using the strategy, the SFP occurred just before the stream started, unfortunately. If I pop this on, does we get anything here? It's we are SFPing these lows here on the 1 minute chart. But to be honest with you, I'd really expect this high to get taken. And arguably what is this? The previous, I think that's a previous quarter high. I'm not sure it's compiled a lot in there. But to be honest with you, I'd really expect this to get taken, given how strong this uptrend is, and given the fact we've not really had any reversal signals. Yes, you've had volume spikes here, but the wicks are rather minor, and then you've come up and tested it again and again on bullish open interest. So given that, and given the fact we've got so many trap traders, you do have to look for the highs for where they are going to get forced out of their positions. There's only so long that traders can hold a position that is unprofitable, in this instance being short, before they can't take the pain anymore and they have to close out. And if you start breaking highs, tends to be the point where that pain threshold really gets tested. So for me, we're looking at 9.5, I guess you would say. 9.5, an SFP of here to get in for long. I wouldn't really long here, just because the gains aren't that good from what I'd want. But it very easily could pop up from here if you are going to trade it as an SFP. Stop loss there, is that 3-1? Very, very easily could do that. So and that'd be your first take profit. Second take profit here. Then I don't even know what's above here. Let's go on the daily. Shit could really run. I don't know if this goes back any further. It's not got the little dinosaur thing that tells you that the chart's just started. But yeah, this looks really good. It looks really, really strong. So I'm trying to see where I can get in on this one, to be honest with you. But yeah, that's it. That's all I've got. SNX, Solnex.
I'm gonna get Sol up here because it's in the title. So Solana, 39.11. Yeah, just trying to keep everything organized because I know how you guys are.
I can quickly look at Sol. Looks like ass.
Yeah, no, it hit a target pretty hard.
Hit it hard, and it's had a huge wick. So when I say like you don't want a topping signal, look at the volume spike, look at the wick on that. So I'm on the 1 minute chart. Let's just simply go over the wick. What is a wick is when there's a lot of pressure on one side of the market. You've got a 10% wick on the fucking 1 minute chart.
Yeah. So this was a big target for me that I gave yesterday. So this is a huge high time frame target, which Max will tell you he sucks at. But the low time frames confirm the high time frame level in this case. So, we'll give him the dub.
Yeah. Huge wick and drop in open interest coming off it. So, not what you want to see. And then, right now, let's look at the OI. Is it really doing anything? It's decreasing with the local uptrend. That's ass. It's actually been increasing as it's come down. It's not what you want to see. It doesn't look good. And as you're collecting this liquidity here, this could offer you a potential short because you've had, the strength has come in with the downtrend. You've then had a weak ass uptrend, and you're coming into a point where liquidity from the shorts that entered earlier is getting taken. So if they've moved their stop loss or got the stop loss, at these highs, you could easily collect it as you, I think, have just done. You've had a decrease in open interest as you come into there. You've now had a lower high made. If you're trading the 1 minute market structure change, you've had a lower high made. You've now lost the local highs, and you've had a decrease in open interest. What's the decrease? If we're talking percentages, 2% decrease, 2.5% decrease, and a 1 minute. Yeah, I mean, I'd be cautious taking the short because you've still left some liquidity there. It's not like you've really tapped it, but you definitely could take a short on this, and because it does look like ass. But yeah, I'll let you go, Magic, and talk about the high time frame.
Just looks like ass.
Not a good ass.
Yeah. It depends on what you're into. So I mean, this is really basic, guys. You've got an SFP of the highs here, and you came down to essentially the local gold pocket at the time. Now these initial shorts right here were really, really easy to spot. This was something we mapped out a long time in advance. Again, using the quarterly chart, just like we did on XRP, just like we did on Bitcoin. Look at that. This is your quarterly range right here. This was resistance. Okay. So these were levels that you needed to have on your chart, and we'll just box it off like so, right? So we'll just pull it over, go back down to the daily, for instance, and you can see that SFP and these levels were resistance. Now, where do we go from here? Well, you put in a very specific reversal pattern. So again, we're going back to a fun folder. I know you guys just absolutely love these things, but you've got a really, really nice pattern here, and it's playing out to the T. So we go out to the weekly, and it looks a little bit cleaner. It's very easy to spot, right? And we're just looking to add a pitchfork to it. It's got a little bit of confluence, but realistically, we're going to do the trend-based fib settings, because that's what we're looking to do. Is okay, what's my trend? My trend is up. We're going to use the major swing points from X to A, then the low of the pattern, and you can see we get our 1-to-1 right here at our bi-weekly horizontal that we've had on our chart. So we know that if we're breaking back above this level, which you could argue was a falling channel, there's a lot of people that had it drawn up that way. I think I showed it to Max that way, and you've come straight into the 1-to-1 at 31.92 to 32.61. Those were the levels given yesterday about 1 o'clock before the pump through the SFP or $25 region occurred. But had you been ready for this, this was it's a quick move, so you got to be careful. But as Max said, big drop up here. This was a big reaction, and now you need to see this hanging on to old support, which is probably right around $25, $26, this region of the chart. If lost, I'm not shifting all the way down to these levels again, but you got to ask yourself, where is the support that was built up here? And it's probably closer to some of our high time frame key levels, which I believe we have the 6M1 up here around $22. I would say $22 if you lose this $26 region. Like if this gets flipped into resistance, this is probably the next area on the chart that I'm most interested in. And then you just kind of stair step it. These are going to be the ranges. I'm gonna get rid of this right here, and we'll turn the Q2 low back on and turn this SFP off. And there you go. So these are the only levels I'd keep on my chart as of right now. Got to clear the Q3 high at $30, live above it. You can see even on the hourly chart giving you that resistance. If you get above it, I'd expect us to formally tap the bi-weekly at 32.61. However, if not, looking down to 25.86, you lose 25.86, looking down to 22.11, et cetera, et cetera. And, you know, that would be how it goes. You know, are there additional targets, though, on this pattern if it continues to the upside? Of course there are. There are always additional targets, and we can talk about those, right? So you can see the 1618 at 43. However, if you really start breaking back above $30 right here, and I mentioned this on Sin City, that if that happens, and this is like back when Solana was dumping to like $9, I said, you know, realistically, if this doesn't recover any major ground, you're looking at potentially this coming back all the way to the lows, maybe even making new lows eventually. However, you put in a really easy gold pocket trade right here, and now you're looking at this and saying, if this gets above $32, what is this doing for our local market structure, right? If we start really finding our way back above this little blue box, you can see these local highs here. You got to be watching these for SFPs. However, you can start shifting and saying, is market structure changing on the local basis? And do we have a new uptrend? And you have some untapped pivots all the way up here at $65 and $67. And so that is if the market goes absolutely ham sandwich. It's also between your 2618 and 3 here. So yeah, that's getting way ahead of ourselves. That's like uber bullish, but that's why this $30 zone is so important. None of these targets can take place without making this local structure change, where you can see the big drop off is right here. I imagine this is FTX blowing up and putting in this range. So you want to see it get back above this 32.61 level and live there. If it does, you know, all the Solana bros are going to be pretty happy. I think at a minimum, you start looking from 31 up to 43, and then you can really just stair step it all the way to like 62 to 70, which is crazy. And that would be the yearly pivot and the Q3 untapped pivot. So this is actually a pretty solid zone to look for in the instance that Solana continues. However, I think this is good resistance. As Max has said, this could be a very good high. And so we'd be looking at things to maybe come back to earth a little bit and trade some of these lower levels. You know, will it just fire through this area and, you know, form new market structure? I mean, maybe. We'll see what Bitcoin does. But for me, this was going to be resistance, and I would not be longing into it. I would only be taking profits and or looking for potential shorts, which it gave you. So that is Solana in a nutshell.
I'm going to do SNX for Tar Heel.
Okay.
Yeah, so Tar Heel harping up in the DMs. Yeah, this coin does look very good. You've had huge increases in open interest. Price is up 40%. Great. And yeah, you know, no topping signals. One would think, you know, looking at the volume at the bottom, you've had no big spike in, big spike in volume, you know, anywhere really towards the high. And you've got liquidity to the downside. This one here is where I'd potentially be getting in, but I'd be more cautious with this one. I wouldn't use much position size. You've got 10K here of whatever this shitcoin is, but I would be looking for this low rather than, you know, this random candle here. I'd be rather looking at this one because I think people would have been more cautious and put their stop loss there. If not, you've got this low here, which wasn't swept when it tried to come down earlier. So you've got two lows here of potential entry points, you know, to get into this trade, because you've got no topping signal saying you've got a lot of liquidity to the upside. You look at the liquidity locally, let me just add, you've got 300,000, whatever this coin is, 350,000 effectively there. Just don't zoom out because you've got a lot of liquidity to the downside. So these would be the only two that I'd really be wanting to get in on, purely because if you do zoom out, if this thing does start to nuke, it's going to nuke really fucking hard. But let's look at the daily, see if we're anywhere important. Oh, you have SFP'd that level, but you've not SFP'd this one. So what is this? This is the March high. Yeah, March high, but you've SFP'd the, not really an important level. Or I guess you've SFP'd the April high. Cautious somewhat, but yeah, these would be the trades that I would want to take. Only these two. If it came down much further, I would rather, you know, not trade this. But yeah, because you have to be cautious, because let's mark these levels on the chart. Let's mark these highs. So you have SFP these, but the ultimate target would be this one. And let's go to the 1 minute. Yeah, so look, you've SFP'd it. You tried to backtest it on the 1 minute as support, failed, came down, and now you've arguably rejected from this one. I'd be really cautious with this coin actually right now, simply because of what you've done. Though you haven't really taken the liquidity because you've not had that drop in open interest, you've still taken those really rather important highs, and now you have got some trap traders above it. I think these points would be the only points I'd get in. Yeah, I stand by that. These points I'd only get in at because you are decreasing on open interest. You come down here, but I would certainly be cautious taking these trades. But yeah, the ultimate target for me would be that 3.4 region. But yeah, definitely be cautious on this one. It's good that you've got decreasing open interest as you've come down. If you had increasing still, then you'd be really cautious because you're trapping even more longs. At least you know that this is longs effectively selling, and some shorts that maybe got in here closing out for break even, and that's what's pulling price down. But yeah, these would be my only points of getting into this this asset, because given the fact you've taken those highs and you've got a lot of liquidity to the downside, you maybe get an SFP there, but at that point there's so much liquidity that would be to the downside that I would be rather cautious. But yeah, as it's coming into the level, are we getting a big drop in open interest? Not really. You're getting a bit of a volume spike. But if it wants to continue down, this would be the better buy zone. If you this would be the better SFP to trade, because then you really are shaking out a lot of longs. This isn't really a good low. It's just kind of just faded up. It's not really like a defined low as this is here. I know I am on the 1 minute, but you know what I mean. But yeah, I would be cautious with it, purely on the fact you've taken those highs, Tar Heel. But yeah, I'm done. No more shit coins to mention.
I am done as well.
Sol's getting XRP, INJ.
Yeah, they're all in there. Well, nice. I don't got anything else to add, man. It's about to be the weekend. Hopefully you guys are all going to go do something outside and not stare at the open interest and charts all weekend. But I know a lot of you are going to anyway. So again, thank you guys for watching. I don't know how many likes we have, but hopefully the like ratio is good. So make sure that we're smashing that up if you enjoyed the content, and just hit the dislike if you don't. Leave me a comment down below if you want us to do more of these live streams where we go into detail on some of the altcoins and how we're looking at them right now. And yeah, we're going to go from there. Everybody have a good weekend. Stay safe. Do something outside. Get some vitamin D. Paintballing for RA. That's dope. I don't know if they paintball over in Dubai. Are you guys allowed to do that over there?
Yeah, we have a sick paintballing place, mate. Like it's got like forts, tanks, got everything.
Oh, that's wild. I did not see that.
Yeah, it's cool, mate.
You guys got that in the paddle ball. Yeah.
The paddle ball.
What is now?
You guys call it. You guys play pickleball. It's called paddle tennis.
Paddle tennis. There you go. Yeah, pickleball here is what it's called. But yeah, all right.
It's not the same.
It's
know that, yeah.
It's because it's better. That's all I'm going to say about it.